This isn't just a history lesson, this is a case study in how innovation clusters form, scale, and dominate. We have a modern myth that technological and economic leaps are a recent invention, born from free markets and Western liberalism. But what if the blueprint was drawn over 1,000 years earlier? Ugh, not on the California coast, but in the Iraqi desert. This is the story of the world's first deliberate, state-sponsored innovation hub. Welcome to a time when the most valuable startup wasn't a tech company. It was an entire city, and its IPO reshaped the globe. In the year 762, the Abbasid Caliph Al-Mansur didn't just order a new capital. He issued a prospectus. He was building more than a city. He was building a platform. He wasn't searching for product-market fit. He was designing it. This city, Baghdad, would be engineered from the ground up not for defense or ceremony, but for one core function, connection. It was placed with the precision of a circuit board at the nexus of the world's major trade routes, the data cables of the medieval world. To the east, the Silk Road from China. To the south, the Indian Ocean network. To the west, Byzantium and Africa. This was prime real estate, but geography was just the hardware. The software was what came next. The first piece of code they wrote was stability. In a world of fragmented, volatile petty kingdoms, the Abbasids built a predictable operating system. They standardized currency, the gold dinar and silver dirham became the reliable, trusted tokens of exchange. They established a unified legal framework. Courts existed to adjudicate commercial disputes. Contract law was enforced. This created a low-friction environment where risk could be calculated, not just feared. For an innovator or a merchant, this predictability was the equivalent of a stable API. It meant you could build on top of it. With the infrastructure and legal OS in place, the next step was attracting talent, and they didn't just wait for it to arrive. They launched the most aggressive talent acquisition and R&D program the world had ever seen. This was the translation movement. Caliphs like Al-Mun didn't just fund a library. They ran a systematic scouting operation. They sent emissaries across empires to acquire the source code of global knowledge, Greek philosophy, Persian statcraft, Indian mathematics, and Chinese engineering. At the House of Wisdom, less a library, more a hybrid of Google's campus, Bell Labs, and a venture studio, they didn't just archive this code. They decoupled it, translated it into Arabic, the universal programming language of their ecosystem, debugged it, and built upon it. This is where Baghdad transitioned from a prosperous trade hub to a genuine innovation cluster. They weren't just moving goods, they were compounding knowledge. The scholar Al-Khwarizmi didn't just preserve Greek math. He built a new branch of it, algebra, from the Arabic al-jabr, meaning reunion of broken parts. His work systematized problem-solving. The Banu Musa brothers weren't just tinkerers. They were pioneering mechanical engineers, writing texts on automata and complex devices. In medicine, Al-Razi conducted empirical clinical trials. In optics, Ibn al-Haytham established the scientific method. This wasn't scattered genius. It was a network effect of intellect, funded by the state because it yielded practical returns. Better navigation for trade, better engineering for canals, better medicine for a productive population, better math for finance and astronomy. The capital flowed as freely as the ideas. Here, Baghdad invented the financial instruments to scale. The sakk, the precursor to the modern check or bill of exchange, was a revolutionary piece of financial technology. A merchant could deposit coin in one city and present the paper sack in another, thousands of miles away. This meant capital became liquid, portable, and secure. It decoupled value from the physical movement of heavy metal. Venture capital existed in spirit. Wealthy patrons and the state itself provided the funding for expeditions, translations, and research, betting on long-term returns from trade, taxation, and prestige. They created a culture that, like modern Silicon Valley, normalized failure as a cost of ambition. Not every expedition returned, not every translation sparked a revolution, but the ecosystem learned and iterated. Now, contrast this with the rest of the world, particularly Western Europe in the 9th century. Europe was in a state of fragmentation. Its network was local, slow, and insur. Knowledge was siloed in isolated monasteries, not connected research centers. Capital was locked in land, not fluid currency. There was no unified legal or financial OS to build upon. Innovation was accidental, not systematic. It was the difference between a decentralized, bug-ridden network and a streamlined, integrated platform. Baghdad wasn't just ahead, it was playing a completely different game. But no platform dominance lasts forever. The decline of Baghdad's innovation hub is as instructive as its rise. The system eventually succumbed to overextension and governance decay. As the empire grew, regional governors became like competing subsidiaries, draining resources and loyalty from the core. The military establishment grew powerful, diverting capital from R&D to security. The very connectivity that built the empire made it vulnerable to internal strife and, ultimately, external shock. The Mongol invasion of 1258. That event wasn't just a conquest. It was like a catastrophic server crash that erased the core database. The network fragmented, the capital fled. The institutional knowledge was destroyed or scattered. The ecosystem collapsed. So, what is the real lesson here? Calling Baghdad the Silicon Valley of 800 AD is just a cute analogy. It's a structural truth. Both are examples of a deliberate convergence of capital, talent, and ambition within a permissive, stable framework. Both understood that real wealth is generated not by hoarding, but by accelerating the flow of ideas and capital. Both became phenomenally wealthy by building the best platform for other people to build on. The irony is profound. We look to Silicon Valley as the unique engine of the modern world. But Baghdad's story forces a humbling question. Are we discovering new principles, or are we just rediscovering ancient ones with faster processors? The Abbasids proved that if you build a system that reduces friction, protects intellectual property, invests aggressively in R&D, and makes capital liquid, you don't just get a rich city. You get a civilization that defines an age. Their golden age wasn't golden because of luck, it was engineered. And in that engineering lies a manual one that every aspiring hub, even today, is still trying to decode. If this gave you a new perspective on where innovation really comes from, you know what to do. History has the answers, we just have to look in the right places.